Well, howdy doody to you too, all you YouTubers and tuberettes. I got a little short talk by the Rio today. Now we're down at that La Llorona Park, which ain't much of a park, by the way. But anyway, it's a place for picnic tables, and you could play volleyball or something on the grass if you want. Anyhow, the river, of course, is bone dry, and it'll be that way till I guess it's like they got a big valve upstream of us at Caballo and one at Elephant Butte. That's two lakes north of us, both reservoirs, of course. In the state of New Mexico, if you run across an actual lake that isn't man-made, they're very rare and small. In any other state of the union, they would at best be deemed a pond, but here they're called lakes. But we have some decent-sized reservoirs in the state. Anyway, I just thought to myself, I wanted to chat with you guys about a topic that, does it ever seem strange to you that when you're watching a YouTube video, the guy or the woman always says the same thing to, hit the like and whatever, subscribe and all that stuff? Like, maybe you forgot. Maybe you have to be reminded of what you like. What? So I thought, well, when I approached this last year and began doing these little vids, basically it's for my own enjoyment. I'm basically a lonely person, but I like it that way. People are complicated to be around, man. And it's energetic. It's a lot of work. And I'm not saying it's not worth it, but it's a lot easier if you just don't get involved. And, so Paul, I'm going to justify this, you see. Paul says things like this, and this makes good sense to me. He says, well, it's like this. I've have a gift of being single. And frankly, I think it's a superior thing. And if you knew what was good for you, you'd want to be single too. Now, the Roman Catholics have taken this and turned this into this absurd concept of a unmarried clergy, both men and women. And I don't think Paul was talking about that. What he's saying is that marriage is a big responsibility, man. You're going to get tangled up with somebody's life. That means a lot of problems, and it means all your failings coming out too. Well, anyhow, I'm kind of just wandering off topic here a little bit. But the point I'm kind of thinking about for today is when we have an opportunity to just kind of say what's what, and say it like you'd say it without trying to sound like a pro or I'm a professional here, and that's how you can tell because I'm always modulating my voice down. I should be wearing a trench coat, shouldn't I? But I just want to thank you, viewers. I got a little header thing that popped up today on the old YouTube pointer thing. I don't know what it is, and it said, "Hey, congratulations! You've passed 1K views." And I thought, what? Because if I just look at my analytics, you just hit a little button, and the numbers always pop up about the same. The last 28 or 30 days, it's 303 or 401, or it's been bouncing around there for months. Well, anyway, I looked today just to see what they were talking about. 1.6K views. That's 1,600 to those of us who are younger. The number just shot through the roof. I thought, well, what changed, man? I don't know. And I thought, well, it wasn't to get a bunch of views and, become a millionaire and all that stuff. My own producer. No, it's just to talk with you. And, and I think really, honestly, I was talking with the young lady, Jamie, down at the waitress at the pit stop. I sure like talking with her. She's just got good sense, that's all. And, which means she agrees with me, or at least doesn't fight me on it. So you can talk about stuff with her, but when you get around interacting with folks, there's people you can talk with and you can be open with and just be you, And I think that's what people are really hungry for, because basically everyone's lonely. They just won't say it because it's not politically acceptable. You're supposed to be all relational, don't you know? You're supposed to relate, and be all intimate and whatnot. But let's face it, most people are distant, most people are cold, and most people, frankly, just don't give a damn about, you. And so the thing is that it's not their fault. They have no vested interest in your welfare unless they've been changed from within. So anyway, I just got to thinking, the reason I do these vids is to talk about stuff from an old guy's perspective, because young people, they're hardly ever around old people anymore. There's an artificial barrier in our communities where old people get shunted off in their own little old people ghetto, and young folks really don't, unless it's somebody's grandpa or grandma, let's go visit them twice a year and whatever. But the contact that the younger generation needs with the older generation has been largely broken down, and that's just one of a series of episodic, I guess you'd call it, assaults against stability. Right now we're seeing things getting a little rock and rolly, kind of like when you're watching them guys at the lumberjack championship and they're doing the log rolling contest so you can stay on the log in the water. Well, things are getting a little bouncy out there, and people are just sick and tired of this duplicity and this exorbitant, call it generosity, don't you know? We're going to want to send another XYZ $1 billion off to some little tin pot tyrant in the Ukraine who on his better days would be basically known as a thug. And everything's riding on that. We got to back that guy to the hilt. He's another George Washington. No, we ain't. So I've got all these new viewers, and I just want to say, well, thank you, folks, for watching, and I'm glad. And now it could be maybe this whole thing's just rubber, Maybe they've made up those numbers, because face it, you can't trust them in the first place. What about just a whole bunch of bots down in Singapore, boosting up my views artificially? And the algorithm isn't wise to it yet that they ain't human. Well, I don't think it's gotten that far exactly. But it's a beautiful day out here. Got a little bit of plumbing to do for a lady. Those darn Delta faucets, by golly. I'm not going to go on again about them Deltas, but for years I recommended them. But nowadays, they're tabletop models, especially for lavs and kitchen sink faucets. Just don't go there. Just don't do it. And I've never seen such junk on these faucets. And the thing is, her numbers aren't that high for pressure. She's probably pushing up over 82 in the middle of the night, because that's when the tanks, all the reservoir tanks, get refilled in town, and that's your high line pressure, kind of 2 a.m. to 5:30, and everybody gets up, starts taking showers or flushing the toilet or whatever. The overall static pressure does drop significantly in the city during the day, down to maybe 69 or 72. So her numbers aren't just off the charts, but anyway, you'd think she was trying to push 120 in there, the way these things leak like a sieve. So anyway, I'm supposed to at least change out one of them today. She's got 6 total, these crummy faucets. And I was going to do that. I was going to do a dishwasher for another lady, but that didn't pan out really. She's got her schedule's all tied up. So there's that other job down at Chamberino, hand sink with a circ pump on a hot leg. And that one's going to be kind of sketchy in terms of time, but I was planning on at least going down today. The sink was supposed to be on hand and on site, so I could at least make up a decent material list and hopefully get it right. By golly, I hate getting out on a side job and realizing, wait a minute, what do you mean I haven't got the water flexes? Let's go back to the hardware again. So when you're doing a side job, at least for me, on plumbing, you think one trip to the hardware, will that handle it? No. Will 2? No. How about 3? Maybe, we hope. Starts getting kind of frustrating. It's like, wait a minute, I didn't realize this was going to be a problem. But you can't see ahead. Only the good Lord, He sees around corners. But so viewers, I just wanted to thank you, and if you like the vids, I'm glad to hear it. And all them numbers about like and share and all that crap. I ain't in it for the money. I'm not rich. Clearly, take a look at this guy. I'm not rich, and I don't want to be. I don't like rich people. I mean, have you ever noticed? Most of them are real assholes. But the thing is, if they're white rich people, at least they're usually kind of polite about it. So the situation here in New Mexico, I don't sense any sense of impending doom necessarily in terms of the republic as viewed by these people who are all outraged by the 25, I believe it is, governors who do have brains in between their ears and understand that we operate under the U.S. Constitution. They're doing the right thing and sending their guardsmen down there too, I believe. So, God bless them. But if it comes down to push comes to ugly between the Guard and the U.S. Feds, Sleazy Joe is probably going to try to nationalize the Guard like you would under a national emergency, which subsumes them back under the Pentagon. Therefore, he is their commander-in-chief. But in the meantime, it's the governors who have the say-so. Now, there's an interesting feature, I didn't know this, about Texas. Besides the Texas National Guard, there's another outfit called something the Texas Military. Texas, the state, has its own military service. Not part of the DOD, not related. It's a state agency. It's a state army. And I thought, boy, that's a great idea. But that could get, part of the wrinkle here, too. We got militias, several hundred militias nationwide that have vowed to come down to Texas and join with the Texas military, whoever those guys are, as part of essentially a defensive posture against an invasion. It's the right thing to do. So, glad the number of views went up. I have no idea what caused that, but I'm just glad to know that this is a place and a time where people, we really should take advantage of this as human beings. Oh my gosh, I'm just going to sit down on this bench here. This is the one that has the memorial plaque beside it. Makes it a very memorable place to sit. Can you imagine? Here's the deal. Well, I heard you died. We're in the afterlife. Yeah, I did. So, did you get anything done down there at all? There was a lot of work to do. Well, yeah, I got a bench named after me with a plaque. That was it. Yeah, well, I was having a bad life. But at any rate, it's just a pleasure to me to bear witness to the true light. Consider all this contagion of insanity. Consider all this just insincere, horrible irresponsibility, hypocrisy at atomic bomb levels. And to be able to speak into that, I think what real folks want to hear is that, hey, you know what? Jesus is still Lord. And by the way, the judgment which comes against all wickedness, that has not been abrogated. It's coming. And when he comes down here, the church, yes, it'll be a day of rejoicing for the church because her master, her Lord, her Savior has arrived. Does it get better than that? But for the others, for those who hate him wrongly and will not acknowledge the truth and refuse to acknowledge him as the Holy One, the only living God, well, there's a sin in the New Testament, and boy, if you want to start an argument, jump on this one, the unforgivable sin. And I try to keep it simple. In context, the situation was this: the master was doing what he did. Other than attracting people like crazy, and healing people and feeding people and raising them from the dead. This was pretty dramatic. And anyway, one of the things that was going on is he was casting demons out of people, and it was recorded. And none of the demons were strong enough to stand against him. That was the big point. Because with a word, a mere word, he commanded them, and out they came. Adios. And the people were amazed by this, and frankly, had never seen anything quite like it. And it was, shall we say, shocking. But there was the committee on the other team, the establishment team, the Biden team existed way back then, yes, and the Biden team at that time accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of the chief of the demons, the guy we talked about, the Lord of the Flies, last night. So essentially, he says, he comes right back at him and says, now wait a minute, you can sin against God and you can blaspheme the Son, but you go around blaspheming the Holy Ghost, that's unforgivable. It's not to be forgiven here in this world nor in the world to come. So in other words, the way I read it, and I don't want to get too loose with the scriptures here, but in other words, I might say it this way in English. I'm sorry, but there's a level of stupidity to which humans never go. I mean, have you ever noticed dogs will do some really nasty things occasionally? And can you imagine people doing that too? I mean, dogs will take a crap and then go over and take a bite of it later. And I think that should be telling you, the owner, something. This probably, dog's got some gut issues down there. I might want to get them dewormed or something. But anyway, I mean, dogs go back and eat their own crap. And people, that's unforgivably stupid. No human is that stupid. And so in other words, you cannot be so stupid as to correctly ascertain. This is what Jesus is essentially proclaiming. Look what your eyes tell you. Eyes that were blind now see. Backs that were once crippled now stand up straight. People who could not get around on their own and were disease-ridden, up and healthy, singing and dancing, and all kinds of good stuff like this. You can't look at that and say that's the work of the devil and mean it and still claim to have a brain between your ears. So it's unforgivably stupid. That's kind of the way I'd say it. But it's akin to the sin of messing up good and evil. Good becomes evil, evil becomes good. God hates that, and he will not tolerate it. So as judgment approaches, we've got two pictures. One for the Christian, it's a time of light, it's a time of rejoicing. I mean, finally, this crazy thing is over. And for those who don't, it's a day of darkness. It's a day of terror. It's a day of shaking. It's a day of destruction from on high. And they'll know exactly who's doing it and why. In other words, nobody's going into this and saying, gee, who knew God was coming? Gee, how could we have possibly, gotten ready for this? They know it's coming and they hate him for it. And they hate you for saying so. So be bold and testify. Jesus is coming, amen. And, the whole rapture schmapture thing, I've tried to tear that out of the picture before, but here's the deal. Rapture or not, there is a transformation for those who stand on this earth and see him in the air. Boom, in a wink of an eye. They won't have to pass through physical death in order to be resurrected in the new body. They're a minority, as far as we know, numerically. But how many will be saved? Will it be many or few? Well, ask Abraham. According to the great God Yahweh, it was going to be, go sit down, count the number of stars. That's how many number your children is. Go down to the grains of sand on the beach. And in the book of Revelation, it says there was innumerable hosts surrounding him. And that's the host of the living. So his salvation, yes, it's a narrow way, but his mercy is broad and strong and lasts forever. So pray for each other, pray for yourself, that this crazy pants issue that's, just stalking the world right now, and it's frankly demonic. This crazy pants issue that somehow the solution to all of man's problems is a huge corporate centralized authority, a super bureaucracy run by billionaires. So what this is telling you, folks, is we don't have a two-party state. We have a uniparty state. It's a duopoly of essentially an autocratic duopoly. It's one monster with two heads, and the heads aren't that different. You want to tell the difference between Nikki Haley and Hillary Clinton? Well, one of them chooses a different hair color shade. Maybe a different lipstick color. But anyway, the thing is that these Democrats and Republicans and Democrats and all that, it's just one party. But the MAGA folk, well, that's another story. And this is the one that you're supposed to be real afeared of, because they're the potential Nazis. Meanwhile, these frauds exercise authority in the spirit and fervor of Joseph Stalin, calling out their enemies as Hitlerites. Guess what? Hitler and Stalin were more like twins, more like long-lost brothers than anything else. The difference that the so-called far right, called the Nazis, was way so ever different than the far left. Basically, the difference was that the far right did it with more pomp and ceremony, a little more splash and pizzazz and showbiz. But it was the same crap. It was the same tyranny. It was the same murder. And it was just national socialism, but socialism just the same. So that those people are moving in, and the thing is that they ain't going to take no for an answer. This is going to mean war. I mean, it's going to mean violence, and nobody wants that. At least nobody in their right mind. But sometimes, God judges nations. He judges empires, and there's pressure on this one now because of the unrighteousness, because of the gross sin practiced by our leaders, as they call themselves, and their slaves. And the stench of that rises up to the Almighty, and He will not tolerate it forever. He puts down whom He will, and He raises up who He will. And in the middle of that, it's all about Jesus. It's all about the true King who came to restore order and sobriety and bring hope. He is our hope. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. And boy, I hope you can get out and get some of this sunshine today, man. I've been missing this. We had a bunch of overcast stuff, a little bit of rain, and I got all spoiled. It's like, where's the sunshine, man? It's like, wait, talk about a wimp. It's like if it gets below 20 degrees, I think that's the end of the world. Thank goodness I don't live in Canada or Alaska anymore. Oh, I was in Alaska in the military. I didn't actually live there. I was stationed there, but that's more information than you needed. Have a good day, and God bless. Run fast and run to win.